Hello, everyone. Today we are visiting the British Museum's Museum of the World. So this isn't a typical museum setting that we're used to seeing in the 360 tours that I've been doing. It is an interactive virtual timeline of all findings from 82,000 to present. So for the past 4,000 years of what we consider civilization. You'll notice here that our first entry is in Africa. So we're not, and of course, we're probably not going to have time to look at all these, but I do want to show you a little bit of the tool and how you can use it. So our first, and then you can play audio. I will leave that alone for now, but so this is one of the first pieces found. It's a ceramic vessel and founded by Magdalene Adundo. She born in 1950, grew up in Kenya, but settled in Britain in 1971, trading as a graphic designer before turning to ceramics. So this is based on those early pieces. So mud cloth found, and then you can click to find out more. So we're still in 1900. Let me try to click to get out of that. Okay. So it is a little glitchy. You'll notice this is just my mouse causing it to move. So let's click here for the Americas. So this was found roughly, I would say another 38,000 years, 3,800 years ago. So this is a hunting helmet. Let's see if we can find out more. Get a little bit bigger picture of it for you here so you can see the details of it. So made of painted bent wood and decorated with sea lion whiskers, glass beads wound with wire and ivory carvings. Go ahead and jump a little bit and we'll look at one in the Oceania. Notice that the Oceania was our second ping. So the two artifacts were first in Africa and then in the Oceania. This one is Aboriginal Australia, and it is an emu feather skirt. And so this skirt dates from the 1840s, it says. Oh, sorry, my mistake. We're actually beginning here in the beginning, and we go backwards to move through time. So let me get to the very back. Hold on. I thought it looked a little funky. Again, those are the fun things we get to experience with live events. So let's go back to 5000 BC, and there's actually one way far in the back right here. Let's see if I can get. Okay. So our first, oh, we even have another one. So the first artifact comes from 2 million BC and is considered to be this lower Paleolithic chopping tool. So we'll find out more about it. So those two that I just went over and we looked at were actually artifacts found within our more recent centuries. And so this was made nearly 2 million years ago. The stone tools such as this are the first known technological invention. This is one of the oldest objects in the British Museum. It comes from an early human campsite in Oldalvi Gorge, Tanzania. This and other tools are scientifically dated to be about 1.8 million years ago. So it's a really, really old tool, was used as a hammer, it says, knocking flakes off of the volcanic lava. And that's what it's made of. So this is frozen lava, essentially dried lava. And then next we have a hand axe, it says. So they would hold this. We'll just briefly look at the picture and use it also as a hand axe. So some of the oldest artifacts currently are tools. We'll see when our first non-tool shows up. So this is Epi Paleolithic. And so these are actually found skeletons. So skeletal remains of two adult men were buried together in a shallow grave approximately 13,000 years ago in a small cemetery at Jebel Sahaba, Sudan. Both died of inflicted wounds, and the remains of the actual weapons that killed them are displayed in their original location. Over 20 weapon fragments and cut marks were found, with two flakes still lodged in the pelvis of burial 21. This skeletal remains on the right. So this is a mass grave burial site from ancient Sudan. Okay, and now here we have our first pottery coming out of Africa during the Bronze Age, and we also have an Asian marker next to this. So we'll look quickly to see just a big picture of this pottery sculpture. More than likely, it looks like something easily used for water, but let's double check ourselves. So it actually doesn't, here we go. Narrow neck storage jars found in the room suggested that liquids such as wine or olive oil were indeed kept here. So it's here in our third paragraph. It just looks something easy to carry for liquid, very much like a bucket. Let's see here. This is our first entry for Asia, and it's in the Sumeria. So this is the first writing, counting beer for the workers. So this is the first, one of the oldest tablets on this clay tablet. It says it's the earliest writing from anywhere in the world. It was made around 3100 to 3000 BC in southern Iraq, known as Mesopotamia. Have a small, you can click to look at the map and get a better idea. And then the text record records beer given to workers as a part of their daily rations. So essentially, our oldest remaining tablet, with proof of written word, is essentially a bookkeeping record. So for all my accounting students out there, just think about language having stemmed from that, and your earliest known record is a bookkeeping, a type of accounting record to account for these rations. And so here on the left, so you'll notice more dots pop up when I click out of that, and that's because by default you can actually sort these entries by what type. So you can do art and design, living and dying, power and identity, religion and belief, trade and conflict. So say you wanted to look at, for example, the history of religion to see how long religion has played a part in the human psyche. It looks like our first entries are in Asia again, around 2000 BC. So this is that 4,000 years ago mark I was talking about earlier, when you really start to see what we consider civilization develop. So this says it's a clay model of a sheep liver for Babylonians. Let's see what that symbolized to them. The Babylonians believed that the world was controlled by gods and that they could give indications, sorry about that, of coming events. One of the most widespread means of prediction was the liver omen, in which a sheep was killed and its liver and lungs examined by a special priest, the Baru. He would ask a particular question, and the answer would be supplied by the interpretation of individual markings or overall shape of the liver and lungs. One could then take steps to avoid some danger. On this model, each box describes the implications of a blemish appearing at this position. Earlier model livers are known from the site of Mari on the Euphrates. And it also continues to say, just because this does include those ancient texts, and being a library nerd, I'm very interested. We know from the ancient texts that the Baru was one of the most important scholars in Mesopotamia. He had to be the descendant of a free man and healthy in body and mind. The Baru played an important part in decision making at all levels, but particularly where the king was concerned. So we actually see this trend continue well into the well into modern days with those political advisors, and councils of kings and in Europe and stuff like that. So this could be it. And he goes on to say no military campaign, building work, appointment of official, or matters of the king's health would be undertaken without consulting the Baru. So more than likely, similarly, a high priest, or what we would call today even a prime minister. So England also, like for example, England still has Queen Elizabeth, but they also have Boris Johnson as their prime minister. The prime minister would then act as that controlling decision when it comes to state or official matters before bringing it up to the Queen. So we have a few more here. We're just going to quickly look at them. So a bronze figurine of a warrior. Clay mask of the demon Huala. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And these are all Babylonian. You can see the culture beneath the title here. Cuneiform tablet with the Atharias's epic. So this is one of the oldest. If I'm not mistaken, I'm going to find out more to check myself. This should be the story of, yeah, of Gilgamesh. Sorry, I always mix two of the oldest. The oldest writing for Europe is Beowulf, but the oldest human epic, like work of fiction in general, is Gilgamesh and these tablets. And it actually talks about the Great Flood and a lot of ancient history that we use this as kind of that marker to base that ancient history on. I'm going to jump a little bit more forward here. So notice we have a bit of a decline here in the Africa, Americas, and Asia. So you can look at this, and this could be, a part of that big ice age, which happened, and that's why you're not seeing so many entries. And then you see one pop back up in Asia again. Click. And that's just for the religion and belief. But anytime there's a big finding and then a gap, you can kind of consider that to also be a gap in history altogether. We have some other entries during this time for the Americas, for example. There's a pipe, so it's not like civilization is dead. But if you wanted to track certain trends in the human spectrum, you can do that on the right here. So notice there's not any entries for trade during that time as well. And we're coming up again on, there's kind of like a ghost for trade, like a ghost zone when it comes from AD 100 to 300, the first 300 years of our current timeline. And then we see trade flourish again here in Europe. There's evidence of it a little bit, 400 AD, so roughly 1600 years ago. So let's just pop up to 1,000 years ago. We'll look at one of each of these just to get a little idea. So in the Americas, we have a gold pendant with a miniature portrait from the Mayan culture, found roughly 1,000, dated to be 1,000 years old. A pottery jar with a dragon handle from Imperial China, and then objects from Nehavad find Islamic Middle East. And then for Europe, let's pick, we have a bone pen from the Vikings. And then silver penny of this Sivan Estradin. It's more than likely for a god. We'll find out more for this one so we can get a better look of it because there's two sides. So this says probably began in Denmark as early as the 8th century. It only became established around the year 1000. For the first half of the 11th century, the designs were mostly derived from English coins. So this is one of the earliest Viking coins we have. So we can even go to power and identity if you want to look at kings and queens, and they have the history of that there. There's a portrait from India from roughly 1500, miniature of the Mughal prince. brass head of the Oba Benin in Benin City. So this is roughly 1800. So this is one of the last for the power articles on the African side. If you wanted to maybe check out Egypt, you would actually have those Egyptian things way here at the back. And like I said, it works like a little ocean of time, and that's kind of what they have it. So here we are, a poem on pipers from ancient Egypt. So those are going to thrive here at the back, along with pretty much some of our Sumerian articles we were getting here in Asia. And it does give you that nice little, okay. So notice that for Oceania here, we were not having any entries, right? So these are placed, pretty much they're dated, but they're also, I think, when they were discovered. So let's get up here to the early part. And that's really when it came to Oceania, you know, the southern Pacific islands, you know, what we consider to be the East Indies, even into Hawaii and Polynesia, those parts, they weren't as discovered or explored until after the 1700s, and that's mainly because of the East India Trading Company. So here's a mourner's costume found in Polynesia. So just to find out more, let's go ahead and take a look at it. This dramatic costume was worn during a violent expression of grief when a Tahitian chief died. The chief's family would enlist a group of mourners, and the leader wore a costume such as this, rampaging through the district where the deceased had held authority.